woman who was happily married to a great guy, and she made a transition. And she went to the pearly gate, and St. Peter wasn't there, and so she kind of peeked in the gate and saw a table that was there, and with all her parents and her friends that had gone before her, and they were having a great time, and on the table was all the foods that she liked and everything that she just was enjoyed in life, and she just couldn't wait to get in. And St. Peter showed up about then and said, she said, well, I see all those wonderful people that I've always loved in my life, and they're waiting for me. What do I need to do to get through the gate? And he said, all you have to do is spell one word. And she goes, what's that word? And he goes, love. And so she spelled L-O-V-E. And the gates opened, and she started enjoying herself immediately. When, while she was there for a while, St. Peter came up to her after a couple of years our time, and came up to her and said, could you watch the gate for me for a little bit? I need to take a break. And so she agreed, of course, and was standing at the gate, and while she was there, her husband showed up. And she said, oh, well, how have you been? I've missed you. And he said, oh, I've been pretty good, you know. I ended up marrying that beautiful nurse that was taking care of you when you became ill. And not too long after that, I won the lottery. And we moved from that small house that we lived into a mansion. And it was great. And we had, you know, quite a few kids, and we just really, really enjoyed life. In fact, the only reason I'm here is we're on vacation like we normally were, and I was scuba diving, and I hit my head, and so I'm here today. And she looked at him and said, well, that's just wonderful. And so he said, well, what do I need to do to get in? And she said, well, all you have to do is spell one word. And he said, oh, great. What's that word? And she said, supercalifragilistic. I thought it was good. So anyway, today the title of the lesson is what's your emergency? What is your emergency? And I've got quite a bit of personal stuff to tell you about today, and so bear with me, okay? This last week was the second time that our governor of Georgia put our state in a state of emergency for this season, for this year, I guess. And as they would have you believe, the first time that we were in a state of emergency, they didn't have enough warning for the weather coming, even though it's forecasted, and so they weren't prepared. But you and I both know that we had plenty of warning, really, and so we didn't get prepared. But the thing is that on the second time around, you know, they learned that how to prepare, to take the warning to the heed, or to heed the warning that, you know, the weather's coming, so let's get prepared. So we prepared just like you and I did, and we have to prepare for the storms that happen in our lives, especially when we're in tune with the universe, so we can hear the warning for those storms. But, you know, this is all so simple, because all I do is take my advice from Gomer Pyle, USMC. Do you remember him? Jim Neighbors? How many like Gomer Pyle? I don't know, some of you younger than don't know. Huh? You don't? No, she would, yeah. Jim Neighbors, you know, he had a great voice. Everybody fell in love with him, yeah. Who did that? That's good. Shazam, yeah, he did that too. Of course, he started in Andy Griffith. But anyway, his advice is, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And so we can look back and as far as how our government responded and say, well, you know, everybody deserves a chance if they mess up once, but on the second time, you know, we got to kind of remember that in the polls. That's our responsibility, because government represents us. They're people that we expect something from, and we are the ones that hire them, essentially, by voting for them. So just remember however you want to remember. I'm not saying good, bad, indifferent, you know. At least the good thing is the second time around, you know, we all learn. So, I don't know what happened to my clicker. Let's say our statements of truth together. I hope you remember them. Together, please. I am a child of God. I am deserving of good in my life. I am accepting my good now. That's good that you all remember that. That's wonderful. Didn't even leave on there. It's not on for some reason.
Oh, I undid it. That's why. I gotta get over it.
Well, you know about those storms up north. They ever see those storms a lot more frequently, so we do heed that warning up there, and we also are more prepared for it. So we just take that advice that Jim Neighbors gave us as far as not letting us be the ones that make the mistake. Oh, you did have him up there, cool. You know, the wonderful thing about Jim Neighbors too is that you can, and I hope that everybody does this with someone you meet. When you meet somebody in this physical part of life, that you just accept them for who they are and learn how to enjoy them. Because later on, you know, some things were found about Jim Neighbors, but that didn't diminish my love for him at all, and I hope it didn't diminish your love for him. Because, you know, who we are is who we are, and how we communicate to each other is something that we can all benefit from. Can you flip that, please? So, what's your state of emergency? We don't have to be in a state of emergency in our life. And if we are part of understanding more of the natural part of ourselves, that is the natural state that we have when we stop getting involved in the outer and look inner, then we know more of how the universe works. Not only that, but we'll learn and know more of how the universe is set up for us to succeed. Go ahead and do the next slide, please. This is on the storm, and we could say it the first time. They sure did do a lousy job handling the first storm. Are we going to focus on that, or are we going to focus on they sure did learn from the first storm, and I'm glad they were out there taking care of us the second more dangerous storm, because if you remember, we had ice before the snow the second time around. So if you had to choose one, at least if I had to choose one, I'd choose them being out there on the second one. Next, please. Is that the next one?
It is.
Okay, the next one. Okay. I don't know if you get these. Okay, now we're caught up, I think. Remember that the universe is set up for us to succeed. In our daily lives, all of us receive forecasts of what is going to be if we are in tune with the universe. If we attune to these forecasts, we can not only know, like I said, what is going on around us right now at the present time, but we can also know what the future holds. And so there are so many times, though, in my life that I have been fooled more than once on similar circumstances. Has anybody else done that? Don't raise your hand. You don't have to tell me. Because I have fallen in a state of emergency over the same thing more than once. And what does that wisdom of Gomer Pyle tell me? Fooled me twice. Shame on who? Me. You know, and we don't have to even learn the first time. If we know it's not good for us the first time, we don't even have to go through that. Now, even though we don't want to shame people or shame ourselves, what we can glean from his wisdom, though, is that where there's an opportunity to change, where this opportunity to change lies, and it lies with us. Each of us individually has the opportunity to not fall for the same worn-out lifestyle that does not serve us or our highest good anymore. And when it doesn't serve us and our highest good, it doesn't serve the race consciousness as good. Each of us can become a greater person by becoming more aware of the signals life is giving to us to enjoy the abundance that the universe has for us. Remember always that the universe is set up for us to succeed, individually and as a race, the human race. When I graduated from high school, I had lived in Texas all my life, or most of my life, and we came up, when my parents divorced, we came up to Kingman, Kansas, which is outside of Wichita. When I graduated from high school, I immediately went to college because really that was, at that time, the right thing to do, even though there was, my mom really didn't force me to go to college, but you could definitely know that she wanted me to go to college because, not too many people in my family had. So I went to college, and I want to ask you if you can do this. Grace would be proud of me. She might make sure I do this. See if you can do this. This is hard. Now, I know that you can put the 2 fingers down by your middle finger, Sam, but that's not what I'm asking you to do. Not 1 finger on each side, just the one here. You're doing good. You're doing good. So everybody can do that? You'll be needing to do that here in a little bit, actually in March, because that's the sign that Wichita State uses for the Very good. Very good. See the W? You see the W? Anyway, that's the college I went to. Wichita State University. And anyway, but going to college wasn't really my idea at the time. As you know, I was raised in Unity, and I knew it took all the principles and believed in all of them. Yet I looked around me at Unity folks, and I saw that not all of them were doing well financially. And even though there were stories, many stories, of Unity people that applied the principle in their life and did well financially, there seemed to be, for me, a lot of people that were not doing that. And so, what I wanted to do was to prove that last principle to myself, the principle that you've got to go out and do it, and that the kingdom of God is here for you at any time, and that includes financially. And so I wanted to prove that to myself. And so I was focused on money when I graduated high school, just like a lot of people are when they graduate from high school. That was my focus, making money. And while in college, while starting college, I thought I needed transportation, even though at first I was in the dorm, which was only cattywampus from the university. It was a really nice dorm. It was co-ed. That was kind of new. It was new for me, at least, at the time. And, I thought I needed transportation, so I had to buy a car. And it was a real nice car. Did you find a car that looked like that? 1970? No, it wasn't. Didn't have stripes. That's a Camaro, sweetheart. It was a 1973 Firebird when I bought it.
Firebird.
Candy apple Firebird. Really?
That's called sorry.
That's okay. That's no problem.
It's candy red.
Yeah. Well, what I really wanted was a Trans Am because, Smokey and the Bandit had been out for a while, and that was the big deal. But there was a price difference quite a bit there between the Firebird and the Trans Am, and all the Trans Am is a souped-up Firebird. So, anyway, I got the Firebird. And in order to pay for the car, though, what did I need? I needed a job. Because we didn't have, I wasn't being sent to college gratis. I had to pay for it. So there I was, working a job at Cessna Aircraft 40 hours a week, going to college full-time with 15 credit hours, and driving this great car, though, it really was cool. And all this at the age of 17. Of course, when I was 17, I knew everything. During my, teenage years, I knew everything. And I don't know how I lost that knowledge, but I did know everything at the time, so of course everything was going to work out perfect. Now, where do you think my focus was at, though? Well, besides the girls at Wichita State University, it wasn't on college, per se. I was focused on making money, like I said. So what do you think happened to me? Well, after the second semester of poor grades, I was put on probation from the university. After the third semester of poor grades, I was kicked out of school. Of course, when you're kicked out of school and you're focused on money, what does everybody look at? Well, Bill Gates, all these other rich people, they were kicked out of school. They didn't go to college. But, you don't really need college, so you're not really concerned about that. Although it did bother me a little bit getting kicked out. So, being there, though, was not benefiting me because my focus was not on that. I had to either declare a state of emergency in my life, which isn't the best thing to do all the time, about going to college and change my focus to that emergency, or listen to what the universe was saying to me. Not only the university, but the universe. And get out of school. I pushed it to the point, the universe and the university, that they were going to take action in my life whether I wanted it or not. Because what did I say? The universe is set up for you to succeed. Since the universe is set up for us to succeed, it will not continue to allow us to follow a path that is not in our best interest, believe it or not. You see people that you think of people that you know have been in the drug scene for a long time or something. Well, the universe has been kicking them around a long time. And I don't know about you, the people you know that have been involved with drugs. The people that I know that have been involved in drugs, I wouldn't change my life for theirs, even though they may have a lot of money. I wouldn't change my life for theirs. They're always on the run, always having to look at their back, all sorts of things. So it made me feel kind of bad, though, being kicked out of college, because, that's not something that I wanted to happen. but it did not deter my focus on money. By this time, by the end of the 3 semesters, I had switched jobs and I was working for a corporation named Quickprint. It was the first nationally franchised printing company. And I really had no interest in printing. I knew nothing about it, actually. But it was a job that paid me enough to keep that 73 Firebird. And so it was also a very good company. It had good people to work with. I quickly rose in the ranks while there, and usually what I would do after a while being there is I'd go all across the U.S. Replacing managers that were either on vacation or they were being replaced by the company. And near the end of my time there, I tried to come into agreement with them about purchasing an existing franchise, and we couldn't come to an agreement. So I went out on my own, and before my 21st birthday, I was the owner of Greyhound Printing Incorporated, which I owned for the next 26 years. During this time, I not only proved to myself that these prosperity lessons that we always talk about and that we have in Unity, they work in the outer sense, in the form of money, but I also learned something more important, what real prosperity is. And real prosperity does not necessarily have anything to do with money. You see, after I worked hard and made the company a success, I realized that even though I was worth more than $1 million on the outer, it did not change the way I felt on the inner. The inner feeling of success and achievement came from my understanding of my spiritual beingness and how to incorporate that in my physical existence, in my physical part of life. And the best way to incorporate it in my life was to become a part of the truth of who and what I am. And the truth of who and what I am is the same as the truth of what you are. And it's what we say every week. And we said it without even seeing it up on the board today. I am a child of God. I am deserving of good in my life. And I am accepting my good now. That's all it is. That's all it takes. To focus. To take that time to spiritually focus on ourselves and our beingness. With the spiritual understanding of the universe being set up for me to succeed, I learned that my focus not only needs to be on one single thing, but it can be directed for the good of everyone involved. The good that already exists in humankind if we allow it to express. If we release our hold on the personality and come into understanding of the individuality, that spiritual side of us, which is us in nature, then we will be allowing the universe to work for us, which is natural, the way it is meant to be, and the way it is, if we just allow it. Well, after a few years of being in business, I petitioned, which you have to do, it's a process, to be able to re-enter Wichita State University. And was granted the opportunity. I was very, very thankful for the dean who let me back in. And found out, though, during those years I was gone, that the rules had changed, which they do in universities every once in a while. And so I couldn't retake those grades that I had that were lousy. See, when I was in there the first time in Wichita State, if you did a bad grade, well, all you had to do is retake it, and that new grade would replace the old grade. Well, when I went back, I'd already retaken so many classes that I'd already reached my limit. So they said, you can't do that anymore. And really, it was kind of a decision for me to make then, because I had to start with a GPA that was less than 2.0. That wasn't fun. But with the new spiritual understanding, knowing that the universe is set up for my success, I went on to graduate with a GPA of over 3 and with more than 4 Dean's Honor Roll achievements. During my master's degree courses, I maintained a 4.0 before going to seminary. When we get out of our own way and come to a spiritual understanding, we can do marvelous things. Not because we are focused on the things that we are doing, but because we are expressing what naturally is. We are a spiritual being, and we can do anything in this life when coming from that understanding. I've asked you all to, for the last few weeks, to pray for our son Jesse and see him on the path that I just described, knowing the beingness and the spirituality. because currently he is choosing not things that are not in his best interest and not in the best interest of the race consciousness. You see, he has chosen to be in a state of emergency in his life. And I want to thank you all for joining us in praying for Jesse, and because those prayers are answered. They are heard by the universe, and the universe does respond in wondrous ways. Currently, Jesse is in jail in South Carolina. Now, many of us might say, how can Jesse be in jail being something that the universe is working for him? And that's a fair question to ask, really, when you want to know more facts about the situation. But when that happened, when he called us last Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, and told us where he was at. He'd just been arrested Saturday night, which was really good timing, because getting that news before church would not have been fun. But after we heard that, I said, you know what, I'm going to grow my beard until he gets out, because I didn't think that the best thing for everybody involved would be for me to go get him. And so I started letting my beard grow through the week to Frankie's chagrin. And Friday, you didn't like it. Yeah, that's what she said. She whispered. I knew it. But come Friday morning, I was going to come here. We were going to come here and meet the banker. And I thought, what I'm doing right now by doing this is really just putting a physical look on my personal body of taking on his emergency. And I don't have to take on his emergency. Neither do you. You don't have to take on anybody's emergency. Well, some people may, and I did actually at first, react when they hear that their son's in jail and think this is the end of the world. And indeed, it actually feels like that at first. But let's stop and look at it metaphysically, to where our spirit can understand what the universe is saying. Charles Fillmore, believe it or not, has a definition for end of the world because it's used in the Bible. And literally, it says the completion of this eon. This does not refer to the physical world, like a lot of people are taught, but to the present era or age, or individually in our own lives, to the end of a certain state of consciousness. Boy, I hope so. I hope this is the end of the world for Jesse. I hope that the certain state of consciousness that he's been in is changing. Fillmore goes on and says, the end of the world is the separation of the true from the false in consciousness. When the wisdom and understanding in us that we, of our own accord, choose whom we will serve and select that which is right in the sight of God. The world passeth away, and the lust thereof. Of 1 John 2:17. See, early after I graduated from high school, I lusted for money. And even though it was from a spiritual principle that I was trying to prove, it was still a specific outcome that I was looking for. It wasn't me in conjunction with the universe. It was me forcing my will into the universe, which isn't going to work. Once the specific outcome was released, and the good for all was the evolving force behind my action, good presented itself in all forms, including money. That is the correction the universe has for my success. The universe is giving Jesse this opportunity to change his course in life, so he can be full of life and actually experience life. In the past and even now, the thought creeps into my mind, go out and get him. But if I do that, all I'm doing is, like I said earlier, I'm taking on his emergency and making it mine. He's in a safe place right now. He's getting fed 3 times a day, and he has a place to sleep. When he was out on his own before that, not all that could be said. The universe is just saying to him, wait, hold on just a minute, stop. Let's take some time to see where we are headed with your life. Is this the lifestyle you want? Do you like living in a state of emergency? And some people do like living in a state of emergency, because they haven't learned that the state of your natural state of being at oneness with the universe is much grander. And we who are in the universe, and these messages are not directed to personally, we have to ask ourselves, how many emergencies of others do we want to take on? Because when we have something like this happen, the human condition tends to get emotional. At least I do, don't you? I mean, your son or somebody close to you, something happens, you get emotional. And like all human attributes, this can work with the universe, or it can hinder our emotions. Fillmore said this about the word emotion. I didn't really care for the first part of it. It said undisciplined or uncontrolled forces, subnormal or supernormal activity of mental or physical forces, excitement of the feeling. And I think he was just kind of like Webster in it there. But this is the good part. It is found that for each bad emotion, there is a corresponding chemical change in the tissues of the body that is life-depressing and poisonous. Contrariwise, every good emotion makes a life-promoting change. Every good emotion makes a life-promoting change. Every good emotion makes a life-promoting change. Thus it follows that it pays to think good thoughts and to do good acts for one's own sake, if nothing else. Jesse needs us, you and me, to use our emotions to think good thoughts about him. Because these good thoughts will permeate his physical body and bring him closer to the truth of who he is. I love that example of the African tribe when, and I forgot the name of the tribe, when they would have someone of their tribe do something that was unacceptable in their culture. They wouldn't chastise the person. They would bring the person in the center of make a circle of the tribe and put the person in the middle, and each person would go up to the one that was in the middle and tell them something good about them and what they love about them and what they've experienced good in their life. And when each of us live from this truth of us, then we will join in the kingdom of heaven that the Father willingly gives to each of us. We make it so hard on ourselves sometimes to just open up and just be. But more importantly, we will become a part of the creation of the divine plan of the universe, where everyone realizes that there is no limit to anything in life. There's not only enough to go around, but the harvest truly is plenteous. So let's take a moment to pray. And so right now, I just want to join with each of you in opening ourselves up to the goodness that the universe has for us. And being able to listen to the universe, to listen to God. And any time I say the universe, if you want to replace that with God, please do so. Or whatever word you use for the creative force that is the universe. But you know what? We are part of that creative force. We shape and form that creative force in our lives. When we get divine ideas, we have the opportunity to express those in our lives. Or we have the opportunity to twist them around into what we think would be best and see a different outcome. Accept the good in your life right here, right now. As we go forth this day, know that God is always with you, blessing you right in this very moment. And so it is. Amen.
Amen.